All right. So, Daniel, do you want to recap Sherry's question? Because we don't
Yeah,
want to
sure.
ask her. My superpower, by the way, is asking people questions when they've just taken a bite. So, like, I could do that.
Right before we start the recording. Yeah, that's the other superpower.
Yeah, my superpower is I don't bow to any sponsors at all. None. None.
You don't bow to sponsors. That's that Wayne's World quote.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. That's a great scene from Wayne's World, by the way. Did you reference that intentionally?
What's that?
The sponsor thing? That was
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Yes, I got it. All right. Anyways, the question that was asked right before the recording started was Sherry was asking, and Sherry, correct me if I'm getting this wrong. We're afraid to start our group coaching and launch it without enough people. What do we do?
More specifically, the fear around looking like a failure if we don't have enough people. What do we do? Which that anticipatory fear then is potentially driving a decision to not even launch before you actually fail. So it's the vicious cycle. Like, do I launch it or not launch it? Because if I don't launch it, I'm going to fail. But if I do launch it, I still might fail. So how do I deal with that paradox?
I just want to point out, like, the mathematics of this. If I don't launch it, I'm definitely going to fail. If I do launch it, I might fail. So one of them is a better outcome, likely, right? So, like, if you multiply the probabilities out here, there's more success on this side than that side, right? So I want to point out the math. So you kind of first answered a little bit of your own question by just stating that. So thank you for pointing that out for everybody. If you don't launch, you're definitely going to fail.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to quote something I read in a book as I was anticipating this and feeling, like, this sucks, the whole idea. This was a book that I read last Saturday because I was like, this is so freaking hard. And it's a book called The Gap in the Game. It's a really useful book.
I'm familiar with that. I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with it.
So here's the quote, and I might not get it 100% right, but you're saying, but the basic idea is, the basic principle is this: the one who fails the most wins. If I fail more often than you do, I will win, because failing shows that I have the ability to stay in the game. That I am actively staying in the game as I'm going through it. Whereas exactly what
you can't fail at something you've never tried.
Yeah, it's like, I'm out, I'm done, and the kind of funny thing to it is, like, if we applied that same principle to the concept of riding a bike, we would never ride a bike. Because, like, are you going to fall down the first couple of times you get on a bike and start trying to ride, and are you going to skin your knees? It's like, yep, pretty much inevitable. I personally didn't. I haven't seen any kid that just, like, jumps on a bike and rides off and has it down and never has to fall off, right? So yes. So
part of it is an internal coaching that you need to do for yourself around that fear, right? And around realizing that the only way past it is through it, which I think is Rob's, ultimate point is, like, yeah, failure is part of the path, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially for something new that you're trying, right? That you're doing something different.
Yeah.
That's been, like, look back in your own life. Has that not been true of everything else you've ever done?
See, here's where I don't mean this to be narcissistic or boastful, but I'm pretty good at most things I do. Which has I realize has been problematic now as I try to do even bigger things. Because I think a lot of high performers are this way, where we're so good at doing things. We have so much ability to problem solve, intellect, all that sort of stuff, that we're like, I don't need anybody else. Which may be true-ish to a certain level, but then you hit a certain level, which every human is going to hit a level. You're like, oh crap, I really can't go any further. And so so that is a mindset shift and a challenge that I've noticed in myself over the last, I would say, probably 5 years, is recognizing that because I've been so good at almost everything, now I have to let go of that and be okay with the failure.
Mm-hmm.
I totally relate to that, Sherry, because when I was in high school, it was so easy. when I got to university, it wasn't as easy. When I was an engineer, I found it really, really easy. And then I got promoted to management and I was like a complete failure. And then I got good at that. And then I quit and became an entrepreneur and I was a complete failure. But it was really, the hardest part was I'm like, wait, I'm supposed to be good. Like I thought I was going to be amazing at this. Like accepting that I wasn't good at something was the hardest part.
Right.
Because I had this pretense in my mind that like, oh, you know, like your self-worth is dependent upon you being good at all these things. And like, if you're not good at something, like that does not compute. And that like, that really holds me over the coals, you know, couldn't handle that.
Absolutely.
And so I really relate to what you're saying. Like over and over again in my life, I felt like that same identity. And sometimes it's easy to do with the things that, you know, come naturally or that I'm well practiced at, like the spreadsheet. I'm so good at spreadsheets, right? But coaching is not a spreadsheet. You know, a very different animal. And, you know, everybody has to learn the new things that are harder, and honestly, the things that are easy are not going to be the ones that build the things you want to build, because we have bigger sights than the things we already know how to do.
Yep, agreed.
So I totally relate to that. Yeah.
One of our jobs, so Daniel, I'm going to make a bold statement here, and I'd love your suggestions after this. One of our jobs in Group Coach Magic, I think, is to fail for you so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls or maybe learn from us to stay just enough ahead of you so that we can share what it is that we're doing in real time. And that literally is the case here, where, you know, like we're supposed to be on the call that launches the program right now. As you can tell, we're not. But we're thinking.
Oh, is that because
in real
we're the
time.
only ones that have signed up so far?
No, you're not the only
Oh.
ones that have signed up. But
It is
Ah,
because
okay.
we don't have enough people. And
Yeah.
by the way, I will share, Rob, I want you to continue, but I want to share a couple things.
Yeah.
We ran this the second time. We didn't have enough people to run the second time, but we had enough to do our first session. And then we did a second session, which was, so we turned the first session actually into a kickoff, and we delayed the start by 1 week. We ran a kickoff session that we designed for the early birds, right? And then we went to the second session, which was the official start. And then we closed the registration because we had enough momentum at that point. We knew we could start. And so what we're doing this time, we're having this call with you as somebody who wants to be a member of the program. But we're going to do additional support sessions until we have enough of a tipping point to know that we can set that date in stone. But we have to communicate with the people who are in and people who are prospects now in a new way, right? So here's the lesson that I learned about that. We set up all the timings and the dates and all the events and all the notifications, and all the back end on the belief that we'd sell it out and be able to start on time. We did a lot of work to be able to start right now, and we're not starting right now. And so one of the lessons is maybe don't do all the work up front. Maybe the first one.
You know, it's funny. We haven't done any of our work
Good.
because we realize, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like, you know, if you're going to launch a book, you know, you tell everybody you're going to launch the book way in advance, and then you do the work because you know you have to launch it, you know. Well, I guess that's an opposite analogy, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also true. It's all you create a necessity for yourself
Yeah.
by giving yourself a commitment publicly, and we did that. But the part we didn't factor in, and here's where I'm, you know, Rob, I like your perspective on this too. The part I didn't factor in was the part that that is variable. When writing a book, it's in your control primarily, right? And you can set that date. You can work backwards exactly what you need to do. But with marketing, you don't necessarily know how it's going to go. You might have to adjust so many things, right? And so we can commit that we're going to do a book and get that done on the date that we say we're going to do. But with marketing, you never really know exactly how it's going to go. So what we want to do is more what we did last time, which is build in the flexibility of like different potential scenarios and paths that would allow us to adapt, which we're doing anyways.
Well, it's just a bonus for the early adopters.
It is. That's what we're doing.
That's what it amounts to. The only it actually it's a bonus for the early adopters, but what I love what you shared, JP, it's also a bonus for you, the leader of the group, because the intimacy that you have from the early adopter bonus. So like the early adopters get much more personalized attention, but it's also a bonus for you because you know exactly what the questions are, the prerequisites, the topics that are most important to them. So as you're designing, because I think we even shared, it's a good idea to design like the first 2 or 3 sessions. With us, with Surefire, we actually have all 6 because this will be the 3rd of the cohorts we run. But now
I mean, you
will
can
know-
throw in as many weeks of Surefire for free if you want. You know,
that's what's going to happen. So yeah, that's what the soft start mode is.
So,
Yeah.
so using this as an example, we've got one guy for sure, who's already paid. And then, like I said, we've got a bunch, we've got, I don't know, probably at least 5 to 7 other people that would be a good fit. And hopefully half of those for sure we can absolutely close. And then, but we need to add more than that. But part of what it's that old, like, well, I got to see what my schedule is. I have to blah, blah, and so there's not a sense of urgency. And so I've been thinking, I'm like, well, how do we create a sense of urgency? And so I'm wondering, JP, if we start a weekly Zoom call that the early adopters get, and then have some sort of bonus content that they get to participate in while we're waiting, because one, that keeps them engaged, that gets them excited about the actual launch date, and maybe that would help motivate them because they wouldn't want to miss out on the the FOMO of whatever the bonus material is on the front end.
Yeah, like every week you get a few weeks less, like if your program is a 6-month program, now you get 7 months if you join a month early.
And what you can do with that bonus training, you can actually do exactly what they've been talking about. Like go deeper on the things that those specific people that you're trying to convert need. So if everybody's talking about like, oh, productivity or something, you're like, oh, we're going to do a special productivity trick session just for the early adopters. And then like, oh my God, I have signed up now. I want that. And so like, if you can't attend that particular date before we launch, just sign up for the program, because then you're going to get this bonus that we'll send you the replay. And we're even going to do like a 30-minute call with you to make sure you understood it. Like you can give sweeteners to get the commitments up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be,
doing that.
I'd be concerned about
a little more than we are.
I think it would be pretty easy to offer some kind of certified high performance coaching ish, or just straight up a couple of those sessions as bonus sessions on the front end. My only question with that, just specifically, since our thing is going to be real estate focused, it will have high performance principles sprinkled throughout, but if they're not getting specific real estate material as the bonus, I wonder if that would decrease their sense of momentum, or if it's more of just about framing, like they have the opportunity to get the mindset stuff drilled in first, so that when they hit the ground running even better, if they've learned about productivity, if they've learned about some of these other things, because that would probably be the easiest thing to do, is just to drop some of the CHPC stuff without having to come up with all this extra work and preparation and whatnot.
What would be easy is the question. What would be easy for you to deliver? That would be very high value to them. That would make them make the decision. That's what I would ask. Like what's the thing? So like now that you mentioned it, like if there came in, like why do they come into this thing? What's the ultimate outcome? And how can you give something that's linked to that, right? Are they thinking they want real estate, or are they thinking they want mindset? Like why are they joining?
Well, they're joining. The typical perspective in investing is they're joining because they want more of lifestyle freedom.
Mhm.
They want more money, which ultimately leads to lifestyle freedom, lifestyle choices. They just have more options. And so, I mean, I think the mindset stuff certainly would fit in there. Not ever. I think the more people get into investing, the more they understand how mindset is important and critical piece of it. I'm not sure about the newer investor, but worst case scenario, we give it a whirl and it doesn't really resonate well. And maybe we then, after 2 weeks of high performance coaching, we shift to a different strategy. Come early, and our bonus is getting to watch JP dance and do impersonations.
I would join for that. I'm not even in real estate.
Eh,
You will
crap.
also you will also do a beard grooming session, which you're a little bushy on that side.
I am a
today.
little
don't know what's
bushy
going on.
today.
So forgot your
But even a
wax or
caveman
whatever.
can do it. So
Nice guy. You know what you're making me
All right,
think?
that's it. I'm signing up for your program now.
yes.
It makes me think that what we're doing with you right now is doing sort of like a one-on-one session with the person who's getting ready to join. It doesn't have to be super long, but it can be really focused attention that if they join, they're going to get that. That can also you can take parts of that and make it content to help other people join. Because what we're probably going to do at the end of this call, Rob, what do you think of this? Is do what we talked about before with you, which is like, hey, what did you find valuable about this call?
Mhm.
And now why are you excited to join Surefire? And then that can become a clip, right?
Mm.
That we can send out to our list of prospects. They'll be like, hey, guess who's on this cohort? Tell us about yourself, Sherry. What did you find most valuable? And like, why do they not want to be on a cohort with this person? Oh my gosh, right? If we can highlight the kinds of people they'll be with, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
You know, so yeah, seeing both of you on the call and looking what you guys are up to, they'll be like, oh, I want to be on call with them. I want to be on a program with them. I want to get to know them. And that's kind of group we're curating is like the people who are going to attract other people in the cohort, right?
Mhm.
And have
That makes
high quality experience.
The other thing
Okay.
on these one-on-one calls that you're doing is you're extracting themes of the topics that people want to hear about. So totally agree with your idea. You know, start with one or two core CHPC type topics, you know, because those are just like fundamental to success of life, having confidence, having influence, you know, having clarity. All of those things are core fundamental things. But then let them tell you what you're struggling with. And then you're keeping a list of 5 or 6 major themes. And you can even let the participants, as they join, vote up the particular themes that they'd love to talk about. So saying, hey, next week, a lot of you said that you have imposter syndrome, you have a fear of rejection, and so it's preventing you from doing lead generation. So that's the thing that we're going to be talking about next week. So each topic is now the exact topics that the people who are signing up are most interested in, which, by the way, is going to be the best way to attract future people, because as you're extracting these themes in your emails to the people who haven't yet signed up, you can be sharing, hey, if you can, it would be great for you to sign up before next week's session, because we're going to be talking about what all the other people who signed up said they most wanted. So they're like, ooh,
Mostly what they want, right? Like if you take the words of your customers and feed it back to other customers, that's probably going to be pretty aligned.
Yeah.
Love that, Rob.
Yeah.
Something else I want to share on the thing that you brought up, Sherry, is you said like, what if you start with too few people? What if your launch date? And I would say like, you can frame that whatever way you want. It doesn't have to be a problem, right? We've done sessions with one person show up and it became a really powerful hot seat with that person. And we're like, hey, guess what? Today you're going to have a lot of close attention on everything you need. And if other people show up, it's like, oh, well, guess what? Today you're going to have the benefit of the group. There's benefits either way. The key is for you as a coach, leading that to leverage at the max for the win people involved, right? So whoever shows up, you just need to be confident you can use that time maximally for the customer's benefit. Whether it's one person, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 3 people, whether it's 12 people, whether it's 100 people, right? And that's, you know, that's kind of a little bit of the magic of what you can do, which is, you know, being confident about whatever size the group is, you know what to do. Right. And part of it is like adapting to what happens. So like we've had sessions where one person shows up and that's okay. It's not necessarily wrong. It's actually an opportunity. Right. So I would say, I would say you don't have to look at it in a negative way. You could frame it well for the group, and you can say like, you can be transparent too. You can say like, hey, we're in the process of bringing more people on, and guess what? Bonus for you today. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's all about what's in it for them, not what's going on for you behind the scenes. Like they don't care about your behind the scenes. They want to, what am I going to get? Right? They're not worried about feeling like, oh, I didn't have 6 people. They're like, oh, I get it all to myself. right? That's what you want. You want them not to worry about your shit. You want them to worry about what they need, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily think it has to be a bad thing. It's kind of our projection in a way.
Yeah, it reminds me.
I
a
know
little
that
bit
one
of
guy
what
we
Brendan-
signed up probably won't care too much. I mean, it's Trevor, so he'll be like, "Yes, it's all me."
Yeah, yeah.
Don't let your stuff come into that. Like, be like, oh, I'm so sorry that I didn't have enough people. Like, you don't want to go there. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
What's the win? Is the question. I would ask.
Yeah, yeah. It really does have to depend on framing. So like you could frame like, we're gonna have this party, it's gonna be off the hook, and then if 3 people show up, then you've set an expectation and people are disappointed. But if you send the invitation, hey, I'd like to send you to an intimate gathering, I'd like to send you to something very bespoke, very, very high end, and you walk in and the table's set nicely and it's just 1 or 2 people, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. This is so good. I get to spend all my time hanging out with Sherry and JP, and we're having this awesome discussion.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What else do you think around your launch that we can help you with, or you want to go deeper on that too? It's fine.
JP says, did he just say off the hook?
I did say off the hook. Does that show that does that show that I was a child of the 80s? Or 70s?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, sorry.
How
At least
about,
you didn't
how
say
about off the
rad.
chain?
I didn't say rad. You're right.
But technically, off the hook means that the phone is busy, right? So like, I was like, didn't you get do like that's not bad. Why is that the phrase?
But you're also saying that I remember when telephones had cords attached to the wall.
Yes.
Yep.
At least you didn't say that was off the internet from 1985. Dang, dang, dang.
Dial-up modems. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So I think this was good conversation, and I think doing the bonus sessions in advance, I think is a very doable solution to kind of the fear of the concern that if we have to push it out, then maybe the people that already joined are going to drop out because, so it's getting them engaged right away. It's giving them value. It's building that connection, nurturing the relationship so that if there is any adjustments that need to happen, they're already bought in literally and now figuratively because they're getting value out of it. So they wouldn't want to stop. So, I do see the bonus sessions that kind of fill the time. So whenever the start date is, if it's a hard or a soft start, as a valuable way of creating FOMO and nurturing those that have actually bought. So I think that's a really smart move. So I think we will do that, and we'll do it at the same time then that we're going to be doing the mastermind, because then we're grooming them to make sure that time's available.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Great. Any other questions or thoughts about what's on your mind right now?
JB?
No, I think I'm good.
Right. Awesome. So why don't we do the thing that I mentioned before, which is like, why don't you guys just share one more time, like a little bit about what you're building in your group program and what you're excited about there, and then also share Fire for.
You waiting on me?
Either one of you, both you can both go ahead, or one of you can take it and share.
So what we're so I'm super excited because I'm very narcissistic and I like to talk about myself. No, I'm just playing. So we're building a platform all around me, and it's got my name on it. So when people come to our mastermind, they're going to get a badge they can wear that has my name on it, so that when they join, I can just sit and talk about myself to myself, because they then have my name, and then therefore I get to talk to myself about myself. No,
You're not fit for this program anymore because that's literally the opposite of what we do here. So,
right? No. All kidding aside, no, we love real estate. We love what it can do for you. We love how it can change lives. We love how you can create massive amounts of passive income. And so we want to get that word out to the world. And so we are building a massive powerhouse community around teaching everyday entrepreneurs how to real estate invest and giving them in control of their lives so they get themselves out of the 9 to 5 so that they can continue to create and build a life that they could only dream of, and so they can do the things that they can only dream of. So
awesome. So you said you're building community. The parts of your community are, I think you said a mastermind and a evergreen group.
yep, so mastermind, evergreen group, accountability, and coaching.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, appreciate that. And I just want to also clarify, you were both married and you've been in business together for how long?
So we have been in business together since 2009.
Hmm.
So we have been married for 23 years as of this year.
Of that.
And yeah, so, and we're bringing our kids along with our journey too. So
That's awesome. We have a member of our mastermind who's also married and in business together. I'm in business with my wife as well. And so I love that you're just a great demonstration of how possible that is. That's awesome. Last question for you. Why are you so excited about Surefire?
Well, and I will answer that. I'm excited about Surefire because while I have a lot of experience as a psychologist and a high performance coach with coaching and leading people and helping people kind of identify change, I'm still kind of a newbie with the whole group thing. And I've done a couple masterminds virtually and felt like I stumbled through them, which is okay. But I know that I can do better and be more intentional, especially with some specific strategies around group engagement and culture. So being able to kick butt on this at the beginning instead of stumbling through this one and figuring things out on my own, I figured let's just rock and roll out of the gate.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate you sharing that, and we are so excited for you to join it. I think it's going to be really effective for what you just described, Sherry. So we're looking really forward to having you on the program.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.